It's time to call the meeting of the Residents Association to order. This is the meeting of all of us, not just the council. But we do have some council business to deal with. And first is the approval of the minutes. And Lucy Ambach, secretary, said that a couple of typos have already been corrected. Are there any other corrections or additions or changes? May I have a motion to approve the minutes, please? Moved by Don Tully and seconded by Perry Level. All those in favor? Objections? Abstentions? Done. The minutes are approved. Now, there are some announcements also that need to be made, and I'm going to pass this to John first.
So my announcement is tonight's lecture is canceled. He would like to be rescheduled for the future, but he can't make it tonight.
Okay, and Mike Rambrose has an announcement or something to say.
Thank you, Lynn. Good? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Lynn and Council, for just giving me a minute. Here, I have an announcement to make that the Board of Directors and I have come to the conclusion that I will be going on a sabbatical. I know, it's like a big fancy word, right? So it'll be, most of you are used to the term, the concept of a sabbatical from your years in academia. This will be a 6-week sabbatical that has two components to it. One is a private 2-week period where I'll just simply detach from the organization, just to sort of clear my head and refresh. And then, so that'll start on December 16th. That's Saturday, December 16th. And that'll run through the end of the year. And then beginning in January, I'll engage in a 4-week period where I will be working, but not on anything day-to-day or operational for Whitney Center. I will be working on strategy, on all the strategic learning, the strategic work that we've started this past year. And there needs to be some mapping out, some visioning, and some detailing planning that needs to happen for the course of the next year to 3 years. And so pulling on all the resources that I've accumulated the past couple of years and sort of organizing all of that is the work that I will be doing during the 4 weeks in January. So I will be joining you again on January 29th. So December 16th through January 29th, I'll be on the sabbatical. Where? Oh, I'm not. I'm not going anywhere special. It'll be in a room in my house, formerly the game room for my 4 sons, which is now becoming an office. Probably a number of coffee shops in the central Connecticut area. And I might actually be taking a trip, we'll see if we can work it out, to a Blue Zone community, to add to my strategic thinking, and to another community that's engaging some work in Michigan. So those are the 1 or 2 day trips that I might be taking. But otherwise, it'll be at home. I'm sorry? Okay, so the question is, will somebody be replacing me? And I don't want to take a lot of time. I know you have a packed agenda here, but I won't be here for the town meeting since that's after the 16th. But the town meeting is a good example of empowering our team members, everyone from Peggy Joyce and Ken Sandberg, through the rest of the senior team, all the vice presidents, directors, managers, supervisors, to run the show. And they are fully equipped and very capable to do that. There is no direct replacement that I'm assigning, but there's an understanding that each team member has an area of responsibility, and collectively, they know how to get the job done, and I have the utmost faith that they will do that. They will tend to your needs, they will tend to the needs of our team members and all of our partners outside of Whitney Center, as they have been, and working up to this point where they have the capacity, and they have my confidence, and they have the board's confidence. Okay? Yeah, Phil?
6 weeks is not enough.
6 weeks is not enough, thank you. The board actually said that. They would like to see it longer. I'm just coming to terms with the idea, so, maybe in the next sabbatical in 7 years, because I believe that's the sabbatical cycle, right? In 7 years, maybe it'll be longer than 6 weeks, but that's going to be good for now.
Are you open to recommendations for your strategic thinking?
Are open to recommendations for my strategic thinking? Yes, send me an email, note, whatever. I'm absolutely open to it. I do a lot of reading, a lot of research on this, but certainly my window into this is about this narrow. So yes, indeed. Okay? All right, well, thank you very much. Enjoy. Thank you.
As you look forward to your next sabbatical, that means you're here 7 more years. And Peggy, I think you had something to say.
Hello, everybody. I'm Peggy Joyce. For those that may not know me, I'm Vice President of Clinical Services. 2 quick things. I promise to be quick. The first one, I just want, on behalf of all of our team members, to thank the Resident Council and all of you that donated to the Employee Gift Fund. I want you to know what an impact you all made on my teams, and this is across Meadow Mills. It's for both sides of the streets. The folks at Meadow Mills never received any gift like this in the past, and we never said what to expect because we never know what to expect. I think they were thinking, $25 gift card, and when they ever opened the envelopes, I had so many team members that were crying tears of joy. You have made such an impact, so I would be remiss not making that a very important part of what I said to you. And it impacted all of our team members. So again, thank you on behalf of my teams and Ken's teams and everyone's teams. It's for everyone. Just quickly, I asked Lynn for 2 minutes on today's agenda. We have pretty exciting news. I think most of you know Karen Russell. She has been the person leading the charge of the opening of Meadow Mills across the street for since August 31st, since we actually purchased the property. Over the year, Karen has done marvelous things with Meadow Mills. We've stabilized it, we've improved our workforce, we've really put systems in place along with a lot of the staff over here that have helped her. We recognized that her passion is truly working with people that have brain change. That's her true passion. Mike came up with a great idea several months ago that wouldn't it be great if we were able to allow her to focus on what she does best across the entire Whitney Center community and not just at Meadow Mills. Mike started conversations with her, and she has graciously accepted the challenge to pretty much, we don't have a job title for her yet, it's a work in progress, but she's going to basically be that go-to dementia expert. Anyone with brain change, whether they're in the health center, Meadow Mills, in the apartments, she's going to be the person to help us with residents and families. And those of you, I know I see a few people in this group right now that have worked with her, with partners over the years. She does marvelous things. So now she's going to be able to extend that reach across all of Whitney Center. So I'm really excited for that. So obviously we needed to come up with someone to follow her managing Meadow Mills. And I'm very happy to announce we've actually offered that position to someone internally that I think most of you have at least seen, if not have met, and that's Nick Aceto. He is the current social worker in the health center. He's a rising young star. I mean, I just love this man to death. For those of you that have had interactions with him, you'll know what I mean, and I think he'll make such a great impact and will carry on the legacy that Karen has started over at Meadow Mills. So the hole that's left from these transition is a social worker in the health center, and Michelle and I and others are interviewing for that position, and we hope to have it filled very soon. So again, if you see Nick or Karen, please extend your congratulations to both of them. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for Whitney Center as well as these two great employees. Any questions for, oh, I can't wait, ask questions till the end. I'm sorry, I'll be here if you have
Actually,
questions.
this is a meeting of the whole association,
Oh,
so
okay.
if people have questions, they can ask them. If you get carried away, I'll pull the plug.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Peggy. And now, speaking of employee appreciation, we're going to have a report from Roz and Alicia on employee appreciation. There should be a mic down there somewhere close to you.
Good afternoon. I'm Roz Lefker, and our Employee Appreciation Drive was a huge success thanks to our wonderful residents. We were able to give checks to 355 employees. All were below the vice president level. The largest check was for $1,100, and there were many, many of those. We also gave checks for $220 to employees who worked for a few hours. The amount given to all the employees was, listen to this, $265,530. So this is my last meeting after 4 years on the Residents' Council. I want to thank all of you who voted for me for both terms. And I've done many things, but the thing that I did that's really nearest and dearest to my heart was doing the Employee Appreciation Fund. And thank you again to all of you who gave and gave again to the fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Roz. That is amazing. And it's dependent on all of you and your wonderful, generous giving. The next item is just, Alicia, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say that many of you experienced the joy and the smiley faces that we witnessed as we distributed those checks. Many of you volunteered to serve from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. in the distribution of those checks. And to see the smiling faces on the employees, to receive the hugs and the many, read the many thank you notes, and to look at the plant that one of the employees brought in was just really very gratifying. And it's all because of your generosity. Most of you took our talks to heart and our pleas for contributions, and you should be proud of yourself, and the employees certainly expressed that.
Thank you, Alicia, and thank you, Roz. That's almost the most important thing that happens all year long, so kick it off again for next year. The next item is about a bulletin board. There's a bulletin board, or you might consider it 3 bulletin boards across from the mailroom that used to have glass doors on them so that you couldn't change them easily. 2 of the 3 panels have become open for general use. And we're thinking maybe that they should be for want ads or don't want ads. If you have an item you want to sell or just plain get rid of that you think someone else might want, it's for residents to post such items or anything else that you might think was appropriate, not concert signs or lecture signs or that sort of thing. They have other places that they reside. But we're not quite sure exactly how these bulletin boards might be used, and you might be able to define it for us by your use. At some point, you're going to have to BYO thumbtacks, but please make them push pins and not thumbtacks. It wrecks my manicure to get those thumbtacks out. So that's about the bulletin board. That's its intent.
Should they put
Oh, right. Thank you, John. When you put a notice up, put a date on it. And if you want to, you could say, like, let me pick a good month, April 2nd to April 10th, and that it could be removed by April 10th. Or just put up the date that you put it up, and someone will say, boy, that's been up there for 10 months. Off it goes. So we'll see how it all works out, and we'll figure out the rules and regulations after we see how you use it. Okay, now it's time for the committee reports. And unfortunately, one thing that I forgot in setting this up is that each committee chair after the report would introduce the next committee person, but I forgot to tell people that. So I'm going to introduce the chairs, sorry. So for art films, the two chairs are Dodie Gall and Ann Hutton. And is one of you, Dodie, you're going to do the report? Okay. And reports will be done at the podium. It's the easiest way to manage the microphone.
I think probably the art committee is next. Going from the A's, whatever. The art film committee shows 2 films monthly, one in the CAC and one in the 6th floor commons. They are related to current and past activities in music, art, architecture, and other art fields. The current members are Dodie Gall, myself, Ann and Jim Hutton, and Myra Josephson. Short report.
Thank you, Dodie. The next report is from the Art Gallery Committee, and Evelyn Crevelin, Chair, is unable to be here, so Sheila Taub is going to do it for Evelyn. And for herself, because she's on the committee.
That's right. So imagine I'm Evelyn Crevelin for the next 5 minutes or so. The Art Gallery Committee is responsible for the art exhibits that grace the walls of the north end of Main Street in Whitney Center. We want to thank Whitney Center for its support of the arts and for providing a nurturing environment that enriches the lives of its residents. The next exhibit, which will be installed on January 16th, features works by residents, staff, and resident students who attend art classes in our own art studio. The Art Gallery Committee organizes 3 exhibits a year. This year, we presented you with the resident staff exhibit in January, the invitational art exhibit in May, which featured 9 Whitney Center artists who each contributed several works. And in September, we installed the Treasure Show, now on Main Street, featuring interesting and meaningful items that our residents enjoy sharing with the Whitney Center community. This year's treasures are exceptionally attractive and interesting. We normally start working on each new exhibit as soon as the last exhibit is hung. The next show will open with a cocktail reception on Friday, January 19th. The reception will be presented as an afternoon tea. Wine will be included as well as light snacks and desserts.
I would like to thank my fabulous committee for all the work that they have done to help make these exhibits such a great success. My committee members are Louise Bandieri, Dodie Gall, Myra Josephson, Sheila Taub, Ina Lowenberg, Van Selden, Susan Rosner, Irene Miller, and Betty Lou Blumberg. Lastly, I want to thank all of you who have contributed your treasures and art to help make these exhibits happen. Without your cooperation, these exhibits would not be possible. And I believe I'm supposed to give this to you.
Yeah, we'll do. The next committee is the new committee, Communication and Technology. Co-chairs Herb Kolodny and Arnold Heiser.
Again, I was the one that lost the coin toss, so I'm up here. Arnold Heiser is my co-chair. You hear Arnold? Okay, there you are. As far away from me as you possibly can get. We are a new committee. We were formed less than a year ago. Communications and technology are really two very separate areas. And the idea is that our mission is to improve communications in every form that means to the residents and to the Thrive at Home members. And so we are embarking on that. Presently, there are several subcommittees that we have broken down to so we can address some of the important issues. For example, assistive technology. We were very fortunate that we've had very early progress in that area. Assistive technology means that residents here may face challenges as we age. We have, less of our hearing, less vision. We have these challenges in these areas. We may have issues with our hands and so on. So assistive technology means that we can improve the lives of our residents by using technology in that area. So specifically, we had a resident here who could not read screens at all. He was not able, his vision was so poor he could not see any visions. And with the help of two specific residents, I see Merrill Menon here, and is George here also? Well, we'll give recognition to George Alexander. Those two together were able to work and develop a system where it was, hey Siri, read me today's news. And that he could have that news. Hey Siri, play Rachel Maddow podcast. And he could do other things with it with Hey Siri. And by doing that, not only was he able to free up improved his own independence, but he also freed up his lovely wife, who had to always help him with every single step of the way before he became more independent. We want to do a lot more of that assistive technology for our residents going forward. For those of you who are K4 users, if you know how to get to the library, you'll see our committee listed, and you will find the script that was developed specifically for that resident. And also getting a chance to speak to one of the liaisons today, we now have an improvement to that, where in addition to finding out about news or Rachel Maddow, he's also able to, Audible, and to get additional podcasts and other things like that. So we're really proud of that area very quickly. Also, and specifically K4, a lot of time was spent looking over the library and the folders that exist there. And we hammered out what we believe is a good form going forward to add folders, to rename some of those folders, and so on, to make it more intuitive. And so we're making improvements, and we will continue to work hard on K4. Some of that gets into other areas, for example, issues that exist in K4 that we all complain about. And we're going to work hard with the K4 community company to have the issues that are important to us better addressed or addressed in a more timely manner. Yet another subcommittee is dealing with the resident's guide. And as you know, when you first moved here, this fairly thick document, at least for those residents, over the last 2 years or so, I don't know how new the resident's guide is, but it's a pretty thick document. It's over 50 pages large, and it became a little bit disorganized. So a subcommittee is working hard to revise that and make those recommendations and implementations so information can be more easily accessed. These are the communications things that we're trying to improve on. Another one is marketplace. We've talked about a marketplace. The idea is that residents here have items that they can no longer use. They want to make it available, one shape, form, or another, or it may be family of a resident or a past resident that has items that they wish to exchange. So the idea of that, or as you say, want ads, to do it electronically, not necessarily K4, but it may include K4. And yes, we thought of those bulletin boards. So we're going to make a power grab for those bulletin boards at some point.
Good luck with that.
All right, I won't mention names, but I know how to tie her up. Okay. But that's something that we really want to work on and to, again, improve access and communications for all residents. And that's pretty much it. And no, I don't have a printed pretty version of my committee report. And good luck in getting it from us.
Well, we're not going to fire you, Herb, but I'd like you to wait for a moment,
Oh,
because we do have something for you. Don't get too excited, it's not even a gift certificate. But it is a certificate of appreciation,
oh,
and I'm going to read it. The Residents' Council of Whitney Center hereby expresses its appreciation to Herb Kolodny for his patience, skill, curiosity, understanding, all his abilities as a teacher over the past 20 years, guys, 20 years. First as a technology contractor, and then over a decade as a volunteer, showing up every Monday morning at 10 in the morning, which I don't seem to be able to do, ushering Whitney Center residents into the digital age. Herb, thank you very, very much.
thank you. Even a frame for it. See that? Thank you very much.
Okay, the next committee is Conservation and Nature, and the chairs are Joe Blumberg and Greg Seaman. And Joe is going to give the report. Greg can definitely join you.
Stand here for moral support.
I need all the moral support I can get. Hi, friends. During the past year, the Conservation and Nature Committee has worked on various projects, some of which will take several years to come to fruition. These projects include the following: installation of solar panels to produce electric power for the Whitney Center campus. The UI deal that Whitney Center has had for the past several years will expire in 2024, so we should be able to move forward. And I want to tell you something. I'm going to be a pain in the neck or a pain in another part of the body until we get this project going. In the future, Electric cars will be many times more popular than they are today. We do have about a half a dozen charging stations now, but we will be requiring many more in the years to come, and those have got to be installed over a period of time. You go for the,
Yes, we're all aware of climate change. We can argue about whether it's human caused or not. But we wrote a letter to management saying we would like to be proud of Whitney Center for being in the forefront of mitigating climate change, like lower electricity and things like that. Whitney Center already does a lot. They have motion sensors in the storage rooms and bathrooms. But just in case they didn't know what was likely to be worked on, we sent them a list of 21 items they might consider, like motion sensors in the library, because people forget to turn off the switches, light sensors outside, because sometimes when I walk the dog in the morning, it's bright daylight, but all the sidewalk lights are on. So there are ways that things can be improved, and we have been visited by Mark Brown to our committee to discuss how these things might actually occur.
the Six Lakes Park Coalition. You've probably heard me say some of this before. Olin has made additional surveys of the property behind our buildings to determine the degree of pollution and the extent of remediation that will be required. We should get the results of their study by next spring. For those of you who may not be familiar with it, the property behind us, there are 102 acres of woodlands that the town of Hamden wants to make into a park. The problem is that for many years, the Winchester Firearms Company used this property behind us to test weapons. As a result, there's gunpowder, there's lead, and they buried, I guess, thousands of batteries back there. Why the heck they did that, I have no idea. But these things have all got to be remediated before the town takes over the property and makes it into a public park. And one of the advantages of being a public park is that the residents of New Hallville would have access to it as opposed to just having access to the urban area where they live. Our committee is conservation and nature. The primary thing that we have done about nature is we have been presenting films on a fairly regular basis about nature that have been very interesting, and Chris Johnson has been primarily responsible for taking care of that. Last week, as many of you know, Arnie Heiser presented a fascinating lecture on astronomy with some incredible pictures from the Webb telescope. You want to read the committee members?
Okay. Yeah, the committee members, these are people who've shown up at least once. In addition to Joe and myself, Vivian Blackford, Mark Brown, Carol Greenbaum, Janet Fowler, Arnold Heiser, Rebecca Heatherton, Chris Johnson, Fred Morrison, Dwight Miller, Sarah Oley, Kara Ronnie, and Misha Schwartz. So,
Thank you.
The next report will be from the Chair of the Dining Committee, Esther Crystal.
The following is a review of the Dining Services Committee for 2023. Early in the year, residents met in small groups to hear about the future plans for the dining services and to offer suggestions to those plans. The here and now dining experiences, and current needs were addressed at the monthly Resident Dining Services Committee meetings. With the increase in the number of kitchen employees, the grill in the bistro was able to be open full-time. The dinner food service in the bistro, which had been a buffet, was moved back to the counter location. Flatbreads and eggplant parmesan were again offered. Alcoholic beverages became available for purchase. Because of these changes, an increase was noted in attendance for dinner in the bistro, and that was a very good thing. In July, there was a change in the organizational structure of the dining services. Instead of authority coming from the top down, the chefs and the supervisory team managers were encouraged to grow and develop with increased independence. They are represented at the monthly meetings of the Dining Services Committee, along with the Vice President of Lifestyle Services. In November, response cards were introduced, which provided feedback from the residents regarding food and food services. The comments are recorded, and they are addressed at the monthly meetings of the Dining Services Committee. Throughout the year, increased emphasis was made to satisfy the needs of residents who need low salt, sugar-free, low-fat, and vegetarian options. Efforts are being made for consistency and reliability in the food services. We owed a debt of gratitude to all the members of our dining services for meeting the challenges they have had to face, and yet continue to offer great meals for our dining pleasure. I want to thank the members of the Dining Services Committee who have advocated for nutritious, enjoyable, and satisfying meals for Whitney Center residents. The resident members are Batya Osterkon, Estelle Baltimore, Harriet Cooper, Ina First, Chris Johnson, Evelyn Krevelin, myself, Rosalind Lefker, Ina Lowenberg, Krista Sammons, Betty Sussman, and John Tully, who's the liaison from the Residents' Council, and Elaine Wyden. And I want to thank all the others that have come to the various meetings. I would have a list of about 50 for all of you who have really taken an interest and have shared your feelings and your input so that we can make changes in our services. So thank you. And this is submitted by the Secretary and Chair, Esther Crystal.
Next on our list, it's alphabetical in case you hadn't noticed, is the Film Committee. And I'll start by saying thank you so much, Irwin, both for getting those films on the screen and for the discussions that often follow them.
So, since December of 2020, we've been able to resume our schedule of 12 movies per month. The current schedule is 3 movies a week, with one of those movies being screened as an evening and matinee performance. With the upgrade in the audiovisual equipment in the CAC, the Film Committee has been able to stream movies of current films in the theaters, as well as those from streaming channels such as Netflix, Prime Video, etc. And with the current Wi-Fi system, we are now able to reliably stream films in the 6th floor commons. In addition, most viewers for our films have stayed when the film was over and participated in our discussions. The film committee is currently made up of 9 individuals with diverse tastes related to film. And this diversity results in a spectrum of English language and foreign films that have been acceptable to most of our resident viewers. About 5 years ago, we surveyed our residents in relation to the types of films they liked and disliked. Based on the number of residents who regularly came to our films, the response to the survey was about 90%. The respondents included a list of movies they liked and hoped we would show. Most of the movies that were recommended had previously been shown by the film committee during the previous several years. Thus, diversity of our film members has reflected the tastes of our viewing audience. So the film committee is always receptive to suggestions from residents concerning films to be shown, and the names and content of upcoming movies can be found in the events section of 4K, as well as on a kiosk display outside the CAC, and hopefully in a much more reliable fashion, I'll be able to get a list up on the bulletin board so you know what's coming up for the whole month. This report, actually, though, would not be complete without thanking Maria Frater for her indispensable contribution to the success of this film program. Because Maria, in the past, ordered and procured the films from Netflix, from Best Video, and we have now taken out, and since Netflix is no longer sending films out, we have taken out an annual membership at Best Video, and this allows us to get all the films for the whole week, and no one has to keep running back and forth every day after we've shown the film. The film committee members are myself, Debbie Bavilsky is the vice chair, Myra Josephson, Helen Lane, Steve Gurney, Angelica Shriver, David Kirsch, Betsy Stern, and Carolyn Atherton. And Dick Beals graciously has continued to keep a file on all our movies, and once a year gives us a listing alphabetically of what we've seen and the dates, so that we can try to adhere to a situation where we don't show movies, the same movie, too often. And Hal Cohen has graciously volunteered to participate in the screening of our movies, which now allows me to make a public service request. And that is, folks, the people on the film committee are aging like all of us. And we're all going to run into difficulties of one thing or another, ambulatory problems, visual problems, what have you. And when that happens, it really makes it totally impossible to do the screening of these films. Screening these films is not rocket science. It is no more difficult than driving your automobile and deciding while you're driving to turn on the air conditioning or the heat or turn on the radio and scan the channels. It isn't any more difficult than that. And we have a very fine program to train you. I'll even give you a certificate as a technician to do this. So Hal Cohen stepped up and helped us, and I really hope that some others would do it as well. Because while we have, wonderful people on the committee to make recommendations, we really do need some other hands-on to help us with this schedule. Because if one of us is gone for one reason or another away, that really puts a big crimp in scheduling and in showing the films. So I plead with you, it's not rocket science. Thank you.
Thank you, Erwin, very much. Actually, driving my car seems to be rocket science. I almost have to stop to find the rear defogger for the back of the car now that it's winter again. I won't go on. But thank you very much. Now, alphabetically, next is the garden, so I will. Co-chair Jerry Hesse and I would usually start off the garden and landscape report telling you how gorgeous the resident gardens are from May well into October. And then we'd report on the 2 garden parties that show off that beauty in June and September. But this year, while all that blooming and producing was happening, there were plans to create a sunny area for our vegetable gardeners in particular. But while they might have first dibs, whatever a dib might be, on it, some sun-loving flowers might find some space up there too. Up where? At the far end of the north parking lot and to the right, sort of eastish, is a slight hill where hapless gardeners tried to grow this and that with not so great results for lack of sun. It may have been Mark Brown, may have been Carol Gelstad, it may have come from a group conversation that the suggestion arose to rototill the sunniest part of the top of the hill, fence that not too large area, and get more tomatoes and so forth than the deer and turkeys do now. Conservation and Nature will be pleased to learn that the weedy, grassless slope going up the hill has been tilled and seeded with wildflowers, which should be a huge improvement. Less mowing, more flowers. Committee gardeners who have worked plots and raised planters, now available on request, in spite of those deer and turkeys, and others who are interested in our landscaping are Vivian Blackford, Betty Lou and Joe Blumberg, Lucienne Koifman, Allison Fox, Gail Friedland, Carol Gelstad, who is secretary. Thank you, Carol. Me, Jerry, Steve and Georgia Jennings, Jim and Chris Johnson, Marilee Kaplan, Yvonne Kolodny, Riva Molina, Ellen Melnick, Janet Mickow, Nancy Rosenbaum, Alda Saunders, Angelica Shriver, Mark Schwartz, Greg Seaman, George Seligman, Alan Sparrow, Joe Stone, Connie Totman, and Carl Johans. Some of these gardeners may be not going to be gardening next year. There are always plots and raised planters available on request, although the planters probably need to be ordered ahead of season. So when you think spring and you want to garden, check with me, with Jerry, and actually with Carol Gelstad as well, because we all try to keep track of who has what where. Thank you. And next, there we go. Health Services, Hal Cohen has graciously volunteered to chair the Health Services Committee as well as run the film, so thank you, Hal.
I'm Hal Cohen, recently elected chair of the Healthcare Services and Safety Committee. I've only presided over the 2 committee meetings so far, but I will try to give a brief description of the matters that the committee is currently primarily focused upon. The Whitney Center Administration has announced that it is seeking authorization from the relevant health officials to reduce the capacity of Whitney Center Health Center from the current maximum 60-person occupancy to a maximum of 30-person occupancy. This change, if approved, will free up a considerable amount of space that is currently devoted to the health center. The administration is in the process of considering how to use this newly available space to address gaps in the current provision of healthcare services. The Healthcare Services and Safety Committee has been brainstorming suggestions for the potential use of this newly available space, so that the administration will have the benefit of the residents' view of what existing gaps in health services should be addressed. To date, a variety of potential uses have been identified. I'll list some of the suggestions that have surfaced so far. 1, expand and perhaps combine space devoted to physical therapy. 2, add urgent care services, expanding the services now available in the Wellness Center to reduce trips to the emergency room, and perhaps to offer such services to elderly and disabled persons in Whitney Center's immediate community. 3, move the finance, marketing, and or medical offices currently behind Main Street to the new space in the health center enabling some or all of the activities now on the 6th floor north, art room, ping pong, pool tables, committee conference room, to be moved to the vacated space behind Main Street. 4, provide space for and solicit additional medical services, such as routine dermatology scans. 5, seek additional alternative primary care doctors who could see patients at Whitney Center. And 6, provide assistance for the use of telemedicine technology. I emphasize that these are just proposed suggestions, and the committee is anxious to receive other suggestions from all members of the Whitney Center community. If you have any suggestions, you're welcome to come to any committee meeting or email the suggestions to me. In addition to discussing potential uses of the newly available space in the health center, the committee is also considering other health and safety issues with which Whitney Center is currently dealing. For example, the safe operation of motorized scooters and other vehicles on our campus, and the possible addition of more, larger, and well-placed convex mirrors to enhance the safety of the hallways. An important part of every committee meeting are the reports by the Whitney Center medical staff. I want to thank Peggy Joyce, Natalie Murray, Michelle Ackerman, Michelle Stocking, Karen Russell, Nick Aceto, and all of the other medical staff who have devoted considerable time and effort to preparing these reports and answering questions at the committee meeting. Finally, I want to thank all the members of the Healthcare Services and Safety Committee for attending our meetings, providing valuable suggestions, and raising tough and probing questions to improve the health and safety of Whitney Center. The members of the committee, in alphabetical order, are Blanche Agnestelli, Batya Astrachan, Vivian Blackford, Joe Blumberg, our resident council liaison, Linda Burt, Harriet Cooper, Mary Alice Frankenberger, Ina First, Carol Gilstad, Carol Greenbaum, Lynn Hawkins, Ann Hutton, Jim Johnson, Chris Johnson, Alicia Jones, Karen Comezzo, Evelyn Krevelin, Esther Crystal, Roz Lefker, Phyllis Medvedow, Helena Platt, Kim Carlin Rakusin, Lillian Rosenthal, Ann Schwartz, our recording secretary, Gracie Smith, Betsy Stern, Roberta Thornton, and John Tully. Thank you.
Thank you, Hal. The next committee, in fact, the next two committees, Hospitality and then House and Grounds, are both chaired by Chris Johnson. Hospitality is chaired by Chris. House and Grounds is hopefully interim chair. I mean, we'd love to have you just stay on and do them both, but but both are really big jobs. So
Hopefully
your turn.
I feel like we need a seventh inning stretch, guys. Something to wake us up, huh? It's going on quite a while here. This is the Hospitality Committee report for the annual meeting. After a slow start in January because of COVID, the Hospitality Committee began its many activities and programs in February. The rest of the year, we've greeted more than 25 new move-ins with hospitality bags, which Sue Davis compiles with information and gifts. During the rest of the year, the committee has worked tirelessly to greet new residents, invite them to dinner or lunch, and special events. During 2023, the ice cream socials were held again every other Friday in the bistro from 3 to 4 and were very popular, with residents as the numbers attending increased to an average of 65. Members of the committee, Betty Sumner, Marilee Kaplan, and Jerry Hesse, dependently assisted Colette Buckles or Lakeisha Saunders with the Sunday's embellishment and serving. The hospitality greeters were always led by Ernie Jones and Betty Lou Bloomberg. In 2023, Mike Ramboros met with 26 newer residents through the program sponsored and set up by Hospitality, which is called Conversations with Mike. This is a program developed so our CEO and new residents meet and talk together. In September, the Hospitality Committee invited residents to a party for 6 of our oldest residents, 99 years plus. These 6 residents are Lillian Rosenthal, Lucille Alderman, Francis Chartoff, Marjorie Friedman, Betty Sumner, and Ruth Jacobson. At this gathering, members of the committee read brief biographies of each individual, and we all celebrated the 99ers with congratulations, beverages, and delicious cake. Again, 2 interest groups with a connection to hospitality should be mentioned. The Storytelling Slam held on the last Thursday of the month continued this year. Skillfully run by Gus Davis and John Watson, and participated in by residents, some repeaters and some new. And the Knit and Stitch group, particularly Nancy Beals, made many scarves and hats which will be given to our staff this Christmas season. We want to express our appreciation to Debbie Kohlberg, our administrative liaison, for her help and advice at each meeting and at other times. I have now chaired the Hospitality Committee for 4 years, as the Resident Council bylaws stipulate, and I will be stepping down at the end of this year. I plan to remain a member of the committee, but Jerry Hesse and Helena Platt will be taking over as co-chair in 2024. I wish them well. I would like to express my great appreciation to the 18 hardworking members of this committee who are, let me get to the list, Betty Lou Bloomberg, Linda Burt, Sue Davis, Marilyn Fishbone, Mary Alice Frankenberger, Carol Greenbaum, Jerry Hesse, Ernie Jones, Marilee Kaplan, Roz Lefker, Susan Meredith, Helena Platt, Kim Rushikin, Barbara Rushba, Judy Sandberg, Betty Sumner, Carol Wilson, and myself. So that's the end of hospitality. Sorry, we have to go on now. This is the report for the House and Grounds Committee. This has been a turbulent year for the House and Grounds Committee. In January, Carol Greenbaum and John Jones were elected co-chairs of the committee, but by spring, John had resigned from the committee and Carol was leading it alone. During the spring and into the summer, Carol brought numerous issues and concerns to the committee, which we discussed, but many were not resolved, and in July, she also resigned from the position of chair. In the late spring, a small group of committee members with Maria Freda moved some furniture in the north living room, including the piano, and removed some chairs and tables to make it look less crowded. We're not planning to replace furniture until there is a resolution about the living room's use in the future, which will occur with the final plans for the first and sixth floor. However, we do recognize that there needs to be a great upgrade in its appearance to make it look more comfortable and modern. At the end of 2022, we had used our budget to order seat cushions for the chairs in the pub and center stage. And in 2023, we had ordered 10 additional cushions to add to this need. The chairs in both eating areas are currently too low to the tables. This is necessary so that wheelchairs can access the table. However, The chairs themselves are too low, and the cushions have become necessary for many residents. In September, after the August recess, I volunteered to become acting chair of the committee until we find and vote for a new chair or co-chairs. Now in December, we're still looking for a chair or a co-chair who would work with me. I am hopeful that in the new year, someone will volunteer. During the fall meetings, I set up an agenda which we follow at each meeting. We get reports from Dan Zullo and Barbara Quellis and bring them residents' concerns and issues. Ken Sandberg attends the meeting to answer additional questions, and Mike Ramboros has said that he will attend meetings also. This next year should be exciting as we discuss the possible changes being considered in the public areas on the first and sixth floors, and perhaps move and develop many areas. I invite anyone interested to join this committee and help us plan for the future. The following residents are members of the current House and Grounds Committee, and we welcome more members. Harriet Cooper, Susan Danforth, Ina First, Dodie Gall, Carol Greenbaum, Lynn Hawkins, Ann Hutton, myself, Jean Mustow, Nancy Rosenbaum, Elaine Wyden, Carolyn Atherton, Therese Robert. We thank you all.
Thank you, Chris. The next committee is the lecture committee. And Annika Hathaway is going to give the report. She's co-chair with Mike McBride.
Well, I'm very lucky because I already did the brief description of what we do that in October 13. So all I need to do is to tell you who are the members of our committee. And we have a very vibrant committee and are always inviting people to come with ideas or to join us. So, but here in alphabetical order, we have Bitsy Clark, we have Gus Davis, Steve Gurney, Arnold Hauser, David Kirsch, Barbara Oberg, Misha Schwartz, John Tully, Tom Wallace, and then Mike McBride and myself, Annika Hathaway, are the co-chairs. Thank you.
And for the library committee, Gay Skank.
Good afternoon. There are 15 very committed members of the Whitney Center Library Committee. They are Blanche Augustinelli, Batya Astrakhan, Peg Campbell, Mary Alice Frankenberger, John Jones, Helena Platt, Kim Rakusin, Nancy Rosenbaum, Krista Sammons, Charlotte Schwartz, Vi Takahashi, Sheila Taub, Roberta Thornton, and Elaine Wyden. And our council liaison is Esther Crystal. So we have a wonderful group of people. Unlike others of the chair people, I do not ever have to worry about who's going to show up at the meetings. My committee always comes. And that makes my life very easy. We meet monthly to assure that the library, which belongs to all of the campus residents, staff, and Thrive at Home members, remains a useful and comfortable location for everyone. The library, which is open 24/7, requires ongoing care. The committee has a formal schedule where members sign up to staff the library 1 week at a time throughout the year. As the chairperson my job is made easier because I never have to remind any of my committee members when it is their turn to staff the library. We have continued to use the date stamp system so that borrowers will know when their books are due. Books may be borrowed for 3 weeks with an opportunity for renewal. There is a grace period to return overdue books, but please remember that the library belongs to us all and that the books are to be shared. The Library Committee pays for daily copies of the New Haven Register, the Wall Street Journal, and the New York Times. Many folks enjoy reading the newspapers every day in the library. The newspapers should always remain in the library. The committee purchases new books 3 times a year in January, May, and September. We are always open to suggestions for book titles, both fiction and nonfiction. Our only request is that if you suggest a book title, that it be something you think everybody might enjoy reading. You will have noticed that there is now a window in the library devoted to a different topic each month. 3 members of the committee have taken responsibility for that project. Their efforts help to highlight the many offerings available in the library. I would like to take this opportunity to give a special shout out to Janet Fowler, who is our administration liaison to the committee, and to Al Augustinelli, who is a resident, and Blanche is Blanche's husband, who both generously give their time to the committee when there are special computer projects that need doing. The library is a major attraction when there are visitors here at Whitney Center. People are very surprised. When they walk through the door, they look around, their eyes get large, they're very excited. And more than one person has said to me that they selected Whitney Center because of our wonderful library. So we are so lucky to have it, and I hope that you will all continue to enjoy using it.
Thank you, Gay. It reminds me that when I was looking at colleges when I was in high school, I chose the college I went to by the size of its library. And remember, that was before women could go to a Yale or a Harvard. So, and now another, how should I describe you? By-chair committee person, Dodie Gall, is going to report on the music committee. Vital to all of our Sundays. And occasionally others.
First of all, thank you so much for faithfully coming on Sunday and filling all these chairs for our concerts. My report is going to be rather short, but you know we're here every Sunday. Music Committee is responsible for Sunday afternoon concerts, usually held in the Cultural Arts Center from September through May each year. Occasionally, concerts are arranged for other dates, sometimes with live streaming here at the CAC, and summer concerts are arranged through another Whitney Center program and Maria Freda. In seeking musicians to give concerts, the committee considers those who have performed here in the past and also contacts schools, colleges, universities that have music programs and solicits suggestions from the Whitney Center community. And as you all know, we lean rather heavily on the Yale School of Music. Lucky us. After considering all the possibilities and trying for a variety of programs, not just pianists, but a variety, the committee works out the schedule for the months ahead, and invitations are then issued, usually via email, and performers selected. Arrangements for the concerts are the responsibility of the committee, including preparing the printed music programs and announcements. We thank Janet Fowler for that. And arranging for the Cultural Arts Center stage setup. The committee also arranges for meeting the performers when they arrive, at least an hour early, and securing and presented the honorarium checks to the musicians after their performance. Music committee meets once a month, usually, and the current members are Dodie Gall, Chair, Lucy Ambach, Peter Hunt, Judy Long, Roberta Thornton, and Al Agostinelli. Please keep coming on Sundays. We have January through May, and half of that is already planned.
Thank you, Dodie. I don't think it's a problem filling the auditorium for those concerts. Sometimes it's hard to find a seat. They are spectacular. Now the moment you've all been waiting for. Greg Seaman, chair of the nominating committee, is going to give what is usually the teller's report, but John can't be here.
Yeah. I'm filling in for John Jones, who's ill at the moment. The other committee members are Mary Alice Frankenberger and Al Agostinelli. We counted the votes, and people have a great deal of confidence in our residence council and re-elected all three that were running again. First Lynn, and then Lucy Ambach and Nancy Rosenbaum have been re-elected. Well, yeah, keep up the good work. Two new members, Fred Morrison and Sheila Taub, were also elected. They will be joining the committee in January, and the other three people that were not elected are fairly new members here, and I think people just don't know them very well. So I've tried to encourage each of them to run again another time because they were all strong candidates. One observation I have to make is only about half of the residents voted, so that's a bit of a disappointment. There was a 10-day period you could have voted during late November, ending November 30th, but I'm not sure of the reasons for that, but I hope in the future we get more people out to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. This would conclude the meeting, but it is the meeting of the whole association, so I need to ask if anyone has any comments or questions for any of the committee chairs or anything. Yvonne? Microphone is coming.
Thank you. We talked about art and presentations and all, and I would like to give a shout out to Steve Gurney and Susan. It is just amazing as of what they put together, and that cabaret is spectacular, spectacular.
And the seats were filled. Yeah, you had to search for a place to sit. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was spectacular. Is there anything else? Karen?
I'd just like to say, after listening to the thoroughness and professionalism and all of the reports and everything that's being done, it makes us all feel so good to be Whitney Center residents.
And if there is the rare person here who's not on a committee or involved in any way, jump in. You will be most welcome. So, shall I entertain a motion to, whatever it is we do, adjourn? Perry? A second? Esther?
Refreshment.
Yeah. We need to vote on this. We're going to skip the discussion. All those in favor? There are cookies in the back. I'm not going to ask who objects. And water.